Hello guys, welcome back to this series on C programming. In this video, we will be learning about variables. So, what is variable, how to create it, how to store data into variable, and how to use those variables later in the program. So let's get started together. So, what is variables? In programming, a variable is a container. It's an area of storage to hold data. To indicate the storage area, each variable should be given a unique name. So we have to give a name to our storage area. In another word, we have to give a name to our data. Variables' names are just the symbolic representation of a memory location. For example, let's open our dev.c. Sure, we will create a new file. Before starting, we have to save as, choose C, and we will example 2, for example. Let's close this. Close. So here we will create our first data. Okay. So for example, here we have int number and semicolon. Here our variable name is number. The name to store this data is number. This int we will see it in the next video with details. But for the moment, I can say that the type of this data is a number. It will be a number, not a character or not a symbol. It will be the number. Okay. Here, let me create. I will explain to you exactly how we are going to store in the memory those data. So here, the memory in the computer is like a table. Okay, so we have here, insert. This is our table. Here we have type. This is now I'm showing you the memory in the computer. Okay, the type, the name, and we have here the value. Okay, here when we create a variable in C, we create int number. So this variable that we created will have location in the memory of the computer. What is the type of our data? It's int, integer. We will see, I said again, with details in next video. Int. What is the name of our variable? It's number, but the value is still free because we didn't give yet the value of this variable. Okay, now if we will give the value to this variable, how we will assign a value to this variable? We will just write number is equal, for example, to 30, and we don't forget the semicolon. Okay, so here when I write like that, numbers equal to 30, in the memory, the value will be 30. So here, this is our variable. We create our variable. The name of our variable is number. The type is int. After here, we assign a value. We give a value to our variable. For example, here numbers equal to 13, or you can give here numbers equal to 40. If you change here, the data also will change in the memory location. So this one must be 14. Now, here we use two lines to create variable and to assign a value to the variable. There is another method. We can do it in the same line. For example, here we have int number is equal to 40. Both are true. So the choice is yours. You can use to create a variable and assign a value in two lines or in just one line. But for sure, it's very faster to create it in one line. Okay, so this one, I repeat again. Here we have our variables. We assign a value in the second line. We assign a value to our variable. Here we have just one line. We create our variable. We give the type of the variable, and here we give the value to our variable. Okay. Now, as we said last video, as we already explained it in the last video, there is a basic structure of C++, of C program. So the first thing before creating variables, those variables must be inside the program C. So the first thing that you have to do, you have to write the basic structure of a program. If you don't understand this include AStudio, please go and check the previous video. We explained it already. We have here int main. So here, this is the basic structure of our C program. Now here we can create our variable. Here we create int. We will use just one line, number. It's equal to 40. This is my program. Okay. Now, if I will execute here, if we will execute this program, we will go to execute, compile and run. Here we have an error. Here there is a point that I have to delete. Sorry, it's .h, AStudio.h. Here we have nothing. We have nothing on this screen. Why? Because we just create our variable. We give the value to the variable, but we didn't tell the computer to print out the variable. So we have to add some code. If we want the computer to do for us something, we have to tell it by coding. So here we just tell the computer, go to the memory, create a variable, name it number, the type is int, the value is 40. So that's it. That's why we don't have nothing on the screen. Now, if we want to tell the computer print this value on the screen, we have to write some code. But first, let's print some text on the screen. Printf, just to remember you about the program that we wrote in last video. So we have here printf, for example, C, my first program in C, for example. We have here my first as output result, we have my first program in C. We have to correct this program. We execute again, compile and run. My first program in C as output. How the execution is done in the computer? The computer will start reading line by line in order. So when I will do execute, compile and run, the computer will come to this program, will read the program line by line. It will read the first one. So it's in including library, so nothing to show on the screen. Here also int main, we are telling the computer this is the start of the program. After this line, the computer will go to the memory, will create a variable named number, the type integer, int, and the value is 40. After, the computer will read the sentences, printf my first program in C, so it will come and give us as output my first program. Now, we want the computer to write us this value, the value of number. So, how we are going to do? For sure, to write something on the screen, we have to use printf. So the syntax, it's like that. There is a syntax. What do we mean by the word syntax? The rules. That means the rules that we have to follow to write on the screen. So we have here printf %d, and we have number. So this is the syntax that we have to follow. This is the syntax that we have to follow to write the value of the variable number. What do we mean by %d? That means go to this number and give me the value inside this variable. And d, we use d when it's a number, when it's integer, when it's not, for example, character or a symbol or something else. Also, we will see this with details in next video. Now, let me try to execute. We have here 40. As you can see here, we show the value inside the variable. So, we use printf %d number. Okay? Now, if I will write like that. Printf if I will not use %d, I will write just number. The output of this, for sure, it will be the text inside this parenthesis. So it will write to me just number, not the value inside the variable number, okay? But for us, we want the value inside the variable number. That's why we have to use %d. %d, that's mean give me the value inside this name, okay? So the value inside this number here, it's 40, okay? Now, for example, we want to write the value inside this number is 14. We want to write a whole sentences. So what do we have to do here? You will come here before the %d, the value of the value inside, for example, the variable number is like that. You leave the %d, and after we have number, okay? So you can add whatever you want, as much as you want sentences, but you don't have to forget %d. So here we have the value inside the variable number is 14, okay? For example, here, if I will write 30, I will change. It will be the value inside the variable number is 30, okay? So this is how we can write the, or we can show, or we can print the value inside the variable. Now, we will go to see how we can change the value of this variable. For example, here, in the first step, I wrote int numbers equal to 30. I print the value. Now I want to change the value of this variable. So it's so simple also, it's not complicated. We come here, number, I will not write again int. We cannot write again here int because the computer already know that this variable is, the type of this variable is int, okay? So it will come here, number, it's equal, for example, to 20, okay? Let's execute. When we execute this program, we have the value inside the variable number is 30. Why? Because here, the initial value numbers equal to 30, we print the result after we change the value inside the number, but we didn't print again this number. After changing, to show this change, we have to print it. So what do we have to do? We will just copy this. The value inside the variable number, or let's write the new value. The new value inside the variable number is number. Now, we will get as a result the new value of our variable. You can see here the value inside the variable number is 13. After, the new value inside the variable number is 20. So here, what we learned here, how to change the value of a variable, and we have to print again the value to show the result, okay? Now here, as a result, we have two lines, the value inside the variable number and the new value inside the variable number on the same line. So what we can do here, we have to tell the computer, please write them in different line. So how to tell that? /n, okay? We have /n, the new value inside the variable number is, okay? This /n is to tell the computer to go to new line. As you can see here, we have now two different lines. Now, we will pass to another thing with variables. How we will see how to assign variable to another variable, okay? Here we have number, for example. I will change or let me write like that. I will create another variable, int number 2, for example. It's equal to, for example, it's equal to 10, okay? Now, inside the memory location, we have here int number, the name of the variable is number, the value it's 30, because 20, sorry, we change it, So in the first case, it was 30. Let me explain it again. It was 30. After we changed this value to 20, we change it to 20. When I change in the program, for sure, in the memory also the value of this number will be changed. Okay? Here I create another variable. Int number 2 is equal to 10. So in the memory we will have int. The name is number 2 and the value is 10. Okay? This is the result of my program. Here, when I will compile and run, also I will get the same result because I didn't write the value of the second variable. I have just the value of number before changing and I have the value of the variable after changing. Okay? Now, if I want to see the value of this number 2, we'll just write printf the value inside the variable number 1 is %d and I have to give the name of the variable. Okay, it's number 2. Sorry, it's number 2. Let me execute. We have here 3 lines. So I have the value inside the variable number is 30. The new value inside the variable number is 20 after changing, and now the value inside the variable number 2 is 10. Okay, now let me assign the value of number 1 to number 2. So here we have number 2, it's equal to number. This is how to assign the value of a variable to another variable. Here, for example, I choose to assign or to give the value of number to number 2. Okay, so what will be here the result? Let's see on the table. We will give the value of number. What is the value of number? It's 20. We will give it to number 2. So number 2 will be 20. Okay. Now we have to print, we have to display, or we have to show the new value of number 2. The new value inside the variable number 2 is number 2. Okay. We execute. We have here 20. You can see here on the table it's 20 and 20. Okay, the value of number 2 it's 20. Why? Because we give the value of number to number 2. Okay, this is how to assign a variable to another variable. Okay, now we can do the declaration of multiple variables in the same time. Here what we did, we have int number it's equal to 30, and here we have int number 2. This is the declaration. This is what we call variable declaration. To declare a variable, that means to introduce this variable to the computer. Before using a variable, we have to introduce to the computer this variable. It's like telling the computer, this is my variable. For example, when we go to a meeting or something, the first thing you introduce yourself. It's the same thing here. Before using a variable, the variable must introduce herself to the computer. So here we can use multiple declaration, multiple introducing. Here, for example, instead of writing int number and int number 2, I will do comma number 2. Okay, it's number 2, and I don't have to here. I don't have to declare it. I will just give the variable values. Okay, here the declaration. I did multiple declaration. I can declare it as much as I want. For example, number 3, number 4, as much as I want. Int number 2, number 3, number 4. After, if I want to give the value to a variable, I will just call this variable by its name. Number is equal to 20, for example. Okay. Now, there is something also new, the name of the variables. You are free to choose the name of the variable as much as you want. Okay, there is some restriction, I will show it, but for example here, you can just give a letter. Here, for example, I will do int A, or int B, or int AB. Okay, The most important thing, if you use the name like AB, you have to call this variable by its name AB. Okay, you have to respect this rule. But there is some programming rules. It's not rules, but it's convention, like convention, that you have to choose the variable name descriptive variable, because if I will write A, B, C, it's not expressive. There is no meaning to give to a variable the name of A. But when I will give a name like number 1, number 2, character 1, character 2, it's clear that I will use that inside this variable there is a number. If I will write character 1, it's clear inside this variable will be a character. When I will write symbol 1, it's clear also that inside the symbol it will be a symbol, not a number. So when you choose your variable name, you have to choose something descriptive, something that will help you, okay? But there is some rules. Here, for example, we cannot choose this name, for example, int variable space 1. No. The space are not accepted. It can be like that, int variable 1 without space. Here, for example, I cannot do int number 2 with space. The space are not accepted as name, okay? After, we cannot start the variable name with a number. We cannot do like that, int 1 number, for example. No, it must be number 1. The first letter of the variable name must be a letter, not a number or symbol or character or something else, okay? It must be a letter. And last thing, there is some words that you cannot use them as keyword, okay? For example, here there is a list of keywords in C. We will show it in the other video, sorry, that you cannot use. For example, I cannot do start, int start. I cannot give the name start to my variable. Why? Because those names, they are the keywords used in C. They are special for C, okay? We cannot use those variables. For example, we cannot give end. We cannot if, okay? There is a lot of, or for example, may. Here, this may. This is the may. It's keyword for C. It's a keyword used for C. It's not something for us that we can use, okay? It's something for C, that's why we cannot use this word. There is a list of those keywords. We will see them step by step in the other video. I hope everything is clear. If you have any question, please, you can let me on a comment or a question. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much and see you in the next video.